Ladies, gentlemen, degenerate gamblers, and casuals, you are listening to the Fletch Factor podcast. I am your host, Fletch the Factor Sheehan, and what a way to come back. Look, I know it's been a while. It's been a hectic 6 months. If you follow me on TikTok, you can hear the whole story on that. But we're here, we're back, and I've brought together a star-studded cast to bring the podcast, to relaunch, really, the podcast. If you're listening in podcast form, I will go ahead and introduce them to you. So I've got a couple of guys that, again, I can't put to words how excited I am to have on the show. If you're looking for Tommy, I apologize. He sends his regards. I talked to him earlier today. He's been a staple on the Super Bowl Roundtable. Will not be able to make it. Congratulations, by the way, Tommy, if you're listening. Just got engaged, just bought a house in Nashville. So we're happy for him. Hopefully we'll see him again soon. But starting out first, batting leadoff, we've got Dante Marquez. He is a sharp sports bettor. He's a former defensive back for the infamous Glades Day School. And we're just super excited to have him. And also, we've got Max Lopez with us as well, another sharp sports bettor. And I really went sports betting strong. We will have, for you fantasy fans, we'll have a small segment in there to talk about that because that is where kind of where I got my start. But we want to break down the Super Bowl. There is money to be made here on Sunday. We are 4 days away from the big game. And just a little disclaimer before we start jumping into anything fun, we will be given lines based on Hard Rock Bet. We are all Floridians, so that's where we're at. So keep that in mind. Your lines might be a little bit different on your perspective books. I know, Dante. I know. Anyway, so before we get into betting and fantasy and all of that fun stuff, I want to take a big look at this game because that's the spot where I always start, where I always look for edges, where I'm trying to figure out exactly where I want this thing to go. One piece of advice that was given to me by really people that I look up to, mentors in the sports betting and fantasy world, is in games like this, when you're looking at a solo game and you're layering bets, you're putting fantasy lineups, is you always want to tell a story. And for me, I want to know how my prediction of the story is going to go, so I can therefore kind of build my bets and my fantasy lineups around that. So here's where I'm starting with this, and this is where I'm looking to my buddies here for some information. Is I took a look, and the number one thing that jumped off the page at me is I looked at the Philadelphia Eagles. Because let me just say this. So the Kansas City Chiefs, in my opinion, are the most consistent team in the NFL. Like, you know what you're going to get from them. But the Eagles are a little more of a question mark. So the first thing I do is I look at their opponents and how they matched up. And the thing that jumped off the page at me is and I mean this in no disrespect to my Philly fans. They're a great team. They 100% deserve to be there. But what a cupcake schedule they played this year. I mean, their division, look, the Commanders were a playoff team. They were not on their level. They just weren't. I mean, Philly went out and put up 50 on them in the playoffs. I mean, that was not the best team that they played all year was the Baltimore Ravens. And that's not even something I can compare, right? Like, there's two different ways that you have to defend these two teams. You play the Ravens, you basically load the box, you man up, because really the only guy that can kind of route you up is Zay Flowers. And again, you still are putting the ball in Lamar's hands to have to try to beat you, which is essentially what you do when you play the Ravens. However, we're talking about the Chiefs here. We're talking about, honestly, the biggest enigma in the NFL, which is Patrick Mahomes, and what you even try to do to stop them. And I think where I'm kind of going with this whole segment is it keeps getting talked about how good Philly's defense is, and I just don't know if I'm buying into it. I don't know if they've been tested. So that's where I'm going to turn it over here. I'll go to Max first, and I'm just curious what you think about this matchup between the Chiefs' offense and Philly's defense.
So the Chiefs' offense, honestly, when you look at it on paper, you would think Eagles' defense is going to shut down. Chiefs' offense hasn't been rolling this season. They've only put up 30 points, I believe, twice. I think they put up over 31 for the first time last week, which you would think with Mahomes being the best player in the league wouldn't be the case, but this year it is. What I look at when I look at this matchup is the Chiefs' defense versus the Eagles' offense. Steve Spagnuolo, you saw him against the Bills. He was throwing in blitzes at the perfect times. And if you look at Jalen Hurts, and his QBR goes down significantly when he's under pressure. So I think you're going to see a lot of pressure from the Chiefs on defense. And like I said, on paper, you would think the Eagles, they're one of the best defenses in the league, but it's Patty Mahomes in the big show. So, he's going to make it happen. Chiefs on third down are the best team in the league. They get the first downs when it matters most. And Think you're going to see
See,
a lot of that this game?
I look at it as it really doesn't matter the defense you have. Patrick Mahomes is going to score the ball. He's going to score. So how I look at it is that if the Chiefs also have one of the best defenses in the league. If Philly can run the rock on them and keep the ball, that's the only way I could see them winning. Is if they can just hold the ball. Same thing with Tom Brady, keep it out of his hands. Diehard Steelers fan, many times broken my heart. Slide of the field. Super Bowl is what you're going to have to do.
So you guys hit a few points there that I'm really glad you hit because I was going to go there inevitably. It almost sounds like you were taking your talking points from my TikTok videos. But that's okay. It's the highest form of flattery. We appreciate that on the show. Number one.
Can confirm that is not the case.
Steve Spagnuolo. I talked about him at length on my last TikTok video. He is undoubtedly my favorite defensive coordinator in the NFL, and honestly, my opinion, the best one in the NFL. And I think that was what I was going to go next was the Chiefs defense. I don't think they're given nearly the credit they deserve. Nobody. I mean, you look at Josh Allen, nobody has been able to go out and pass on him. So it creates a bit of a mismatch there, in my opinion. But that being said, on the other side, I want to go right to Dante's point. It's not like anybody, A, is stopping Saquon Barkley, and B, this Chiefs defense you have been able to run on. I saw it the last 2 weeks with Joe Mixon and then again with James Cook. You can run on this Chiefs defense. That's the one spot where they've even shown a little bit of weakness. Spags has them dialed in with the pass rush. Honestly, I think the secondary for the Chiefs doesn't get the credit it deserves. I think my guy Trent McDuffie is a stud. It breaks my heart every time I see him on TV because I know Pittsburgh should have drafted him instead of Kenny Pickett. And can you just imagine seeing him across from Joey Porter Jr.? Just think about that for a minute.
Love it.
With TJ Watt. Anyway, I'm going off on a tangent here, but I like this Chiefs defense. I'm right with you, Max. I think that is going to be one of the big things of this game. And Don, I'm with you 100%. I think if the Eagles want to have a good chance to win this game, they gotta give them the Tom Brady treatment. They gotta keep Pat Mahomes off the field. You gotta run the ball. You gotta play the possession game.
Third down.
And this is the team to do it. If there's going to be the team to do it, it's Philly right here. I mean, from a betting standpoint, Saquon Barkley's line is set at 111 yards. Like, if he goes over that, I mean, if he's running the rock like he's been doing all year, that's the only way.
It's insane. And I think what the matchup that I find interesting is I feel like the runs that are working the best against Kansas City are to the outsides. And if you can get Saquon in open space, I mean, there aren't many guys in the NFL better than him in open space. It's just, I think that's the game plan.
Opening play of the
I don't think anybody.
NFC Championship, he cribs
100%. The thing that I'm locking in on that I want to watch is what does Steve Spagnuolo dial up on first down? Can he put not necessarily behind the sticks, but can he put the Eagles in long yardage situations?
Don't give him a free 2nd and 4. Don't give him a free 2nd and 4.
Exactly.
You're saying,
you just
right? Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Can you make Jalen Hurts have to throw the ball?
Yeah. It's going to be tough, though. Saquon's averaging,
let's be honest, it's not that guy.
Almost 6 yards a carry right now, so that's why the Eagles have been clicking like that.
Hurts is also not that guy. He's not that guy.
That's what I'm.
I can't vision him driving down the field all game if they can't run the ball. Like, if you got to go win it, I can't see it.
Well, that's the thing that just the math doesn't add up for me, right? So I was talking to some people recently. I'll leave their names out of this for obvious reasons. And one of their thoughts of this game was, okay, the Chiefs are going to go out, try to shut down Saquon, and then Jalen Hurts is just going to go out and sling it. The problem with that is this Philly offense is incredibly funneled, right? You've got A.J. Brown, you've got Devonta Smith, and then you've got the tight end whose name is eluding me right now, Dallas Goedert.
Don't forget about my guy.
And I just don't think that's – I'm with you, Don. I don't think that's a way that Philly's going to win this game, which is why, again, I think some of my other – as we get more into bets things, I think my bets kind of sort of reflect my sort of opinion on that. Any other thoughts, guys, about, just the play of this game and how we expect it to lay out?
One thing on Jalen Hurts, you guys were talking about Jalen. One thing that stuck out to me is obviously he's played in one Super Bowl prior to this. Obviously, we all know is also against the Chiefs. Let's not forget, that was the best game he's ever played in his career. Like, I don't think it's particularly close. I mean, he really did show up to the Super Bowl. They were, I don't know, do you know what the line was on that game, Fletch?
Not a clue. I couldn't tell you.
I don't think anyone was really giving the Eagles a chance. They started the season like 11-0 or whatever it was. Like,
yeah, I do remember that season.
and they
for
kind of
sure.
stumbled. They kind of stumbled at the end of the season. And I mean, he played the best game he's played in his life in the Super Bowl. It was a pass interference call away from Jalen Hurts having a ring. So for anyone saying that Jalen Hurts can't do it, I disagree. I personally don't think Jalen Hurts is a top 5 quarterback in the league. But I think he's shown you're not going to have to worry about him choking in the big game because he's shown he could do it. He did do it until a pass interference. Like, let's not forget, it wasn't like the Chiefs blew him out. I mean, the Eagles were up 10 and I think they're up 10 in the fourth quarter. Same thing with the 49ers. So I think Jalen could do it. I'd be interested to see if he can have the type of game he had 2 years ago. And I think, like you said, the Chiefs' run defense isn't anything to run home about. And they have the best running back in the league. So I think that could open up the field for Jalen Hurts. Get Goddard involved. I could see A.J. Brown having a huge game. Obviously, Devontae Smith, he could come out of anywhere. So I really do think the Eagles have a chance in this game, like a really, really good chance in this game. I like the line. I think Chiefs -1 is a good line.
I do like the line. I think both coaches, I mean, you're gonna see their absolute best. Like, you're gonna see just both offensive coordinators, just like Andy Reid is God-gifted talent of just making the greatest offensive teams, like, just amazing. That's what I am envisioning, is just Chiefs I can't see him just stopping.
Yep.
I really can't. I mean, and that's the matchup that I think is incredibly intriguing. Is we've got maybe undisputedly the 2 best offensive lines in the NFL going up in this game. And again, I kind of teased this a little bit earlier, but right? I mean, the Eagles and the Chiefs are the 2 like best units that like I don't know about statistics, but that I've actually like watched with my own 2 eyes. Baltimore's pretty solid too with their O-line, but these 2 to me definitely stand out as like, you're going to have a challenge going up against these guys, which makes it kind of interesting to me because I think the Chiefs' defensive line is definitely one of the best in the NFL. And again, the way Steve Spagnuolo kind of gets pressure in there, I think that's important. And again, I think you've got a secondary in Kansas City that can kind of get to it. And that's the other thing. I just don't know about playmakers on Philly's defense. They keep getting talked up as this great defense. And look, they have been. But again, to my point initially, I just don't know if they're really battle-tested, at least not this year. Like, is Darius Big Play Slay going to go back to who he was like 2 years ago and just absolutely start shutting guys down again? I just don't know, and that's the thing. Like, Patrick Mahomes really is a mystery. Like, there's nothing you can take away from him and feel comfortable. Like, he can absolutely abuse you in the short pass game. He can take you over top. They can run the ball. Like, I just don't know if you're Philly's defense, what you go, okay, this is our game plan against Mahomes.
And listen, this white corner too that they have, I'm drawing a blank with his name. Now
Cooper
you're going up against you're going up against all vet receivers and the best quarterback we've seen since Tom Brady. I mean, if they're not going to pick on receivers, to start the game,
he is. That's very true.
Love to see.
And you've got Hollywood Brown, who's been out most of the year.
Listen, I got my guy Juju. I mean, he's not the greatest, but he's going to do something. Fucking D-Hop.
Kelsey.
And Kelsey, I mean, dude, I think it's going to be too much.
So that being said,
I'd like to go back to you talking about the Eagles secondary. I agree. The Eagles secondary is nothing crazy, but I think you're also looking in the wrong spot. Look at their D-line. I understand that the Chiefs have one of the best offensive lines in the league, but I mean, Nolan Smith, Jalen Carter, who else do they have? Nakobe Dean, Josh Sweat. They got a pretty stacked D-line, so I think
they
better be holding calls.
There better be holding calls for sure.
Well, I'm looking at the other way. I'm looking if they go through and actually get a hand on Mahomes, can they do it without getting flagged?
Or just a holding call.
That's a question no one has the answer to.
I think they will. I think it'll be well fishy.
Yeah,
it
should be fun.
Ass. I mean,
nonetheless, and I'm definitely looking forward to watching a lot of these matchups. But that being said, I do have a question for you guys, and I will say this, like when the line initially came out, and I think Dante will agree with me. I don't think Max will, just because I've already kind of heard his answer to this question. But when I saw this line at 1.5, honestly, it shocked me. People might think I'm crazy for that, but I thought if I had to predict it, like if after the AFC NFC Championship, if you said, Fletch, what do you think the spread is going to be on this game? I would have said Chiefs -3.5 to 4.5, somewhere in that range. What do you guys think?
I just think
Well,
should be the spread. It's just a Super Bowl. They're going to make it close, so they're going to make it close somewhat.
No, it's not even that. Other than the Chiefs being the Chiefs, like how they've won 3 in the last 5 years, I think, right? 3 in the last 5. And, like I said, it's Chiefs the Chiefs. But what have they done this year to make you think that they deserve a 3.5 point line on neutral field versus the Eagles? They've put 38 points up twice this whole entire season. They don't have a good run defense. They're playing the best running back in the league. I think 1.5, like I said, I think 1.5 is the right line. I think if it went above 3, you're going to get, it would go right back down to 2.
No, I hear you, and you're probably 100% right. My thought process is, again, number one, you've got the most consistent and maybe highest firepower, even if at certain times they didn't show it, offense in the Kansas City Chiefs. And again, the matchup that I even start talking about with Philly's offense, Chiefs defense, I'm genuinely interested to see how this works out. Like, this game to me is going to go one of two ways. It's either going to shoot out and shatter this over at 50 points, or the Chiefs are going to do what they do. They're going to go out and put up, if I had to predict, somewhere probably in the ballpark of like 26 to 28 points. And you've got the Eagles somewhere kind of clawing their way back to make this a close game. I mean, I think it's somewhere, it's kind of one of those two outcomes. I just, honestly, like I said like multiple times already, this Philadelphia Eagles offense, I mean, tell me, I guess you could say that the Ravens defense is a decent defense, but other than that, what defense have they played this year that you go, okay, that defense, really gave them a run? I mean, Green Bay was another playoff team that they played. I don't know if I'm really saying that they're any type of defense to be afraid of. I mean, Pittsburgh was playing awful when they played them. I mean, again, they played the Ravens, and that was a lower scoring, close game. I think the Eagles put up 26 to 28, somewhere in that range. I mean, again, I think, my opinion, this Chiefs defense is probably the best they've seen all year. But again, I just don't know.
I could get behind that thought process, but I will say you can look at games like the Bengals, 37-17. Correct me if I'm wrong. Bengals had the best, stats-wise, Joe Burrow had the best QB season. I want to say, were they the highest points per game? The Bengals?
Right, but I think I'm kind of looking at the other side of the ball here. I'm looking at, has there been a team that Philly's offense has gone against that you go, right? And that's kind of the point I'm making. Like, I just don't know what defense they've gone up against that really has, that you could look and go, okay, that team was a challenge for them, and they came out and still put up big numbers. And that's really what I'm looking at, right? Like, I'll talk about this more when I get into my bets, but that's the big question is, can Philly's offense, and is Saquon, again, is this Philly offense going to show what they showed the last 2 weeks in the playoffs and just go out and be able to throw 40 points, 30 plus points up against this Chiefs defense? I don't know. That's the biggest question mark.
On Philly's defense, they did what they were supposed to do against those bad defenses. I mean, they blew out. I mean, they scored. So, like, they do have a good offense. But like you said, yeah, they haven't. I mean, the Ravens, did they play them at the beginning of the season? Or
it was like a midpoint.
They played the Ravens.
I remember Ravens secondary, I remember, was horrible at the first
half. Yeah, they went and they traded.
They went the best. Yeah, they went to the best.
The week prior to Ravens, they put up 37 on the Rams in Los Angeles. I mean, Rams had I feel like I remember Rams having a lot of low-scoring battles, no? I feel like I remember seeing a lot of low-scoring games. I could be wrong.
No Aaron Donald?
Yeah, I don't think the Rams defense is really. But that game, it's hard to judge that game because for some reason when you get a snow game, you kind of throw a lot of variables into that mix that you don't normally have. This game also being in a dome definitely is a situation that's prevalent for offense for sure. So that being said, that's a good segue.
Super Bowl in New Orleans? Oh, sorry.
The last Super Bowl in New Orleans?
Yeah, what was that?
No idea. That was not within my research parameters for them.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought maybe you'd know. I think it would have been Colts Saints, right? Saints won.
Was that in? Sure. It might have been in New Orleans. I feel like that was such a long time ago.
I know for sure. That was in 2009, I think. It was
a while back.
I know that for a fact.
So, that being said, that's a good kind of segue here, I think. So, I found it interesting. Like, I was looking at Hard Rock earlier because, like I mentioned about the lines, like, I feel pretty strongly one way. And with Hard Rock, like, I was looking to see if even to move the line a little bit, I could potentially bet, like, an alt line on the Chiefs to, like, lay a couple more points. But it's just not really, I don't even think it's an option. Like, if you look at spread, maybe, here we go. Wait, how the heck? Oh, sorry. All right. Now I got all the options. It wasn't there this morning. So it is an option now. But
yeah,
again,
to
me, like,
it closer to game time.
Yeah, it is interesting to me because, like, to me, I think, to go money line versus laying the 1 point, it's not that big a difference. So, maybe just to save yourself some sweat, if you're going to go, KC, you just go money line and pay the extra couple bucks. But again, to me, that's sort of where I would lay. But again, I don't think any of us are really jumping out of our chairs to talk about the spread here. That being said, the over-under here at 50 points, or 49, sorry. Does that 49. Make anybody excited?
Listen, I was going to save this for later, but I will say that is my biggest lock of the Super Bowl. That will be my biggest bet. I'm going the under. I think the under is an absolute just disgusting lock. It's disgusting for me to say that it's a lock, but that's just my thoughts. I think the line is set perfect. I don't think it will be a high-scoring game. I think it's going to be a dogfight.
Yeah, I think...
Well, full disclosure, with that being said, the last lock that Dante gave me wound up being a Michigan State absolute smoke. That they couldn't hit a shot. They might as well. I couldn't watch the game because it was only on freaking Peacock. But it basically, reading the box score, it looked like Michigan State was blindfolded because I just kept seeing USC 3, USC 3, USC 3, and nothing from Michigan State.
It was probably...
I've been
watching sports
USC
for a while.
Money line within 2 minutes of getting that bet.
Yeah, it was probably one of the most disgusting performances I've seen from any basketball team at any level. At any level. And it was bad, and I don't want to...
Yeah,
I'm not pulling up the text, but in quotes, I did say it was the lock of my life. So...
That happens to the best of us. But we can wipe the slate clean. Here on this podcast, we stay neutral. Every bet is its own opportunity. The last bet plays no impact here. It's only what's in front of us. And I will go right on top of Dante here and say, I can't take full credit for this bet because I got the idea from somebody else whose name I cannot remember at this point, some analyst that I heard on a podcast. But hear me out, Don. Second half, live bet, over. Because generally speaking, the first half is sort of a feel you out process, and I think that's kind of what it's going to be like. I think they're going to come out slower. The over-under is going to drop. So maybe initially speaking, the under may be the move. But what I'm going to be eagerly looking at is if they score less in the first half, the over-under drops, and then potentially hitting the over in the second half, because that's generally when both these teams start scoring.
Hey, I'm going to add that to my card. I really like that. That second half.
The other one that this may be, again, we'll revisit this at the end of the show. The other one that may be my favorite bet of the night, and it'll probably get added to some parlays, or I'm definitely betting it straight. The Chiefs over 24.5 points at plus 100, plus money. I love it.
I think that's a really good line, though. I wanted to bring it back to. I'll find a way to segue this back to the over under, but you said it was 24.5.
24.5 at plus money.
I think that's a perfect line, and I don't hate your bet. I think it's a risky, lock, your bet of the show. I think 49 is right at the perfect number. I don't think you're getting any juice betting either side.
I don't
hate betting under. I don't hate betting the over. I just think it's a really good line.
No, see, I said this at the beginning of the pod. I just really see both teams trying to just keep it out of each other's hand. If Saquon truly, like I said, goes over 120, whatever his line was, is running the rock like he did all year, and they keep the ball, I don't see it being a high-scoring game.
The only factor that you got to include there is you just never know when Saquon's just going to break a 60-yarder. They're trying to run it out, and he just all of a sudden puts one in the end zone and puts the ball back in Mahomes' hands. Then you start getting into a shootout.
He's undisputed the best.
But that's the thing, right? That's what I keep going back to is the Chiefs are going to score. And if the Chiefs are going to score, to me, it's can the Eagles keep up with them? That's what I think it's in the second half. I think that's what we're going to end up seeing. I mean, I would like to say, again, if Saquon has a big first half and this game's close, God, that's going to make for a fun second half to watch. But to me, the most likely outcome here seems like we go into the second half, Chiefs up probably, I don't know, somewhere in the ballpark of 3-14, which is a big range, and we end up seeing what Jalen Hurts has in his tank like we did in the last time these two guys matched up. But that might be a bit, to me, that seems like the most likely outcome, but maybe not.
See, anyone have anyone do any research on like a stat they saw, like Eagles stat or a Chiefs stat where that pops out to them, and they think like maybe this could be the stat that changes the game? I
have a good stat. Patrick Mahomes has 3 Super Bowls. He's about to go 4th.
That's a great stat.
Well, a couple things that I don't know about a specific stat per se, but one thing that I found that was a bit interesting looking at, different lines in props and stuff like that earlier. Did either of you guys just by chance look at what the passing, the over-unders for passing yards are for both these quarterbacks? Because it's pretty laughable.
Yes. No, I'm actually
because Mahomes is somewhere around like 250 and Hurts is at like 212.
I think that's a good line.
I mean, what I'll say about that is Vegas is certainly looking into that Saquon's going to be a big part of this game. If they only think that Jalen Hurts is going to throw for 212.
That has to be the most by a running back in Super Bowl history.
That's usually around where his line is, though. I'm pretty sure.
They do run the ball
around 215.
But that's my whole point, right? Like, what game this year can you think of that the Eagles played that they were trailing and Jalen had to come out and sling it?
That's what I'm saying. I can't see him do it. I can't.
But I'm saying inevitably, I think that's going to be a part of this game.
He did 2 years ago.
Like
that's what I'm saying.
3rd and 10s, like you're gonna
like what we've seen this year practically is the Chiefs controlling game. I'm sorry, not the Chiefs. The Eagles controlling games for most of this year. I don't know if they're going to be able to do that.
I don't think,
It also helps Jalen Hurts. You got A.J. Brown and Dante. I mean,
Dallas got it.
But, dude, I mean, it's just hard to...
on the backfield. So, for the stats that popped out to me, I believe keys of the game, the Chiefs have 11 interceptions this year.
Have how many?
Jalen Hurts, 11. Jalen Hurts is 5. But Eagles, as an offense, have 9 fumbles. Chiefs only have 3. So they pretty much equal out on turnovers. But, I don't be surprised when you see a turnover out of the Chiefs. I think that could be a key to the game. I think if Eagles want to win this game, they're going to have to get Patrick Mahomes their 12th interception of the season. And I think with the pressure they'll be able to apply, I really think they could create some turnovers. And the Eagles have to take care of the ball when they're running. They can't be fumbling.
I like Chiefs.
I do want to counterpunch slightly on one of those points about the turnovers here. And I'm not saying, again, this is necessarily all that relevant, and I guess I'm looking for Dante to either thumbs up or thumbs down this take I'm about to give. But is there a big difference between early to midseason Patrick Mahomes, where basically his receiving core was Juju Smith-Schuster, Justin Watson, and whatever other Xavier Worthy and whatever other guys they threw out there that week, to Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy? They really that was kind of the weird thing, and I guess we'll get into that a little bit more in a minute. But Travis Kelce, what role does he play in this game? I don't know. I feel like this offense, to me, I feel like this offense is a different offense than we saw for most of the season. I really do feel that way.
There's a D-Hop, too.
D-Hop, too. That's another guy they brought in. I forgot about that.
When AB went to the Bucs with Brady, when you're that good, when they threw that touchdown pass to AB, they're like, dude, just get open. Like, you're one of the best in the league. Like, at one point, I feel like D-Hop will get a tutty. Like, I can see them in the red zone, something, just be like, D-Hop. Let's go, man. Like, you used to be the man. Like, can you give me one more player in the fucking Super Bowl? Like, and Mahomes is going to put it there.
So
I like D-Hop too.
running off what Dante said about D-Hop, I got a little bit of notes here. One of my notes I made was I could definitely see Andy Reid throwing the Eagles for a loop and getting a vet like D-Hop involved. Big time. If you look, I mean, his over-under is like 11.5. I think his receptions over-under is 1.5. He hasn't done much for the Chiefs, but I think it would be so Andy Reid to have a really big game plan based around D-Hop. I really could see it. It's the same
And
thing
he
with Travis
deserves
Kelce.
it,
They
man.
go
He
all
deserves
season.
it, bro. He deserves the touchdown in the Super Bowl.
Look at what he does with Travis Kelce's different because Travis Kelce's Travis Kelce. But, I mean, they've done it every year in the playoffs. Not every year, but this year in the playoffs, Kelce hasn't done much.
Wait,
He
I have
didn't
a
do much
question.
all season, and he gets in the playoffs.
Has Travis Kelce scored in every Super Bowl he's been in? Mahomes?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if you guys are looking at me. No, I don't know the answer. I would assume
He
probably,
scored-
but
Well, I know they scored 9 points against Brady that 1 year. So it's was he the only touch?
I don't think he scored against Brady. I think he scored one in every one that they've won. I think because they've been to 4. Yeah, they've been to 4.
So while we're talking about Travis Kelce, and for some reason my phone's running a little slow right now, so I'm trying to pull some statistics. But
Mr. Pfizer?
Did the line of 6.5 receptions strike you guys as odd a little bit, or you think just because the Super Bowl is juiced?
It's just that's always all playoffs. It's been like that 5.5, 6.5.
Yeah, no.
But let me rephrase the question. That's what I'm saying. Like, does the thought to bet the under on that come to you at all?
I wouldn't touch it, but I won't bet the under, but I won't bet the over.
You're just gonna hate yourself when you take the under.
No, I never bet the. I mean, I'm just looking. Okay, I guess against Houston he had 7, but other than that, like, yeah. I guess you guys are kind of right. I thought he was less involved than maybe he actually was, but yeah. Now look, actually the numbers actually loaded up on my phone. Yeah, I think I'm probably avoiding that.
It's such
Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was the same thing last year, right? He didn't do much in the regular season, I don't think. And then in the playoffs, I guess it was just
more evident to me this year that he was uninvolved because I drafted him in like the second round in 2 of my fantasy leagues. So I just felt the pain for like forever, basically.
I had Mark Andrews in the 4th or 3rd or something. Both my leagues.
Hey, so another thing about go ahead.
No, if you got something, bring it, because I was about to transition.
I was just going to mention, going back to the Eagles' offense, one thing that popped out to me, this is Jalen Hurts' best season in average QBR. So in 2022, he had a 101.6. Obviously, that's the year they went to the Super Bowl. This year, it's a 0.7. And every other season, I think he's played for 5 seasons. Every other season, he's been in the 75 to like high 80s range. So that's pretty interesting that the 2 seasons he's been over 100, he's been to the Super Bowl. And it's even better this year by a significant margin. I mean, it's 2.5 points, 2.5 point difference. So
I got to be brutally honest here. Time for a little confession time with a factor. I don't even know if I even really know what quarterback rating is even calculating. I know what a good one is, but I don't even know what goes into it.
It's weird because there's times you can complete a pass and your QBR will go down. I forget who it was. There was some QB this year I remember seeing, he completed a pass. It's like on the 1-yard line or something. And because it was a 1-yard pass, I don't know. I read an article about how that's calculated. It's a weird calculation, but I mean, it's still that's the main thing they go off of is QBR usually. That's your best way
shit out the window.
Well, what I'm getting at is if that's an efficiency stat, you would think potentially, right? Like if with Saquon, him passing less and in, more situationally, I guess you could say, being versus, again, all the factors we talked about, playing shittier teams, I think that the math adds up. Like, I don't know if I'm necessarily going, okay, well, Jalen Hurts just had a freak better year. I just think his situation was infinitely better, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah, best running back in the league.
And like you said, Fletch, they didn't play nobody. They played nobody.
Listen, whatever they've done, they made it to the Super Bowls, and they're going up against the Chiefs team.
I think the 2 best teams. I think the 2 best teams made it to Super Bowl. I think those 2 are the best teams now.
They made it to the Super Bowl, and in my opinion, it's now or never because this Chiefs team is not that good. They're mortal, But then again, like, I'm not an idiot. I don't live under a rock. I understand it. The Chiefs are the Chiefs. Like, the Chiefs are going to do what the Chiefs do. My pick for the game, I'm going to pick Eagles. That's probably a little out of heart. I know the Chiefs are going to end up winning, but I think if there's a year to do it, if there's a year to take down the Chiefs, this year is the year. It seems like they're mortal this year.
So speaking of the Chiefs, we've broken down a lot of their offense, but there's one part of it that we haven't touched yet that I really want to lock into, and that is the Chiefs' running game. The first part of it that I want both of your takes on is, do we continue to see a high workload for Kareem Hunt, or do we just all of a sudden, after 2 games of seeing Kareem Hunt be the lead back, do we see more of a committee with more Pacheco? I mean,
they have to stick with Kareem Hunt.
I don't know. You never know Andy Reid,
against
dude.
the Bills, bro. Pacheco got a little involved, but then I want to say second half it was pretty much all Kareem Hunt, right? And he balled out.
That being said,
go away from Kareem Hunt.
My feeling on this, Kareem Hunt, both from a fantasy perspective as well as from prop betting, is one of my favorite players to lock in on this game. I think he's obviously very live to score a touchdown. I also think his over of 41.5 rushing yards, especially if you're a believer that KC is going to get up in this game at any point in time, I am on that for sure. I really like Kareem Hunt in this game.
I like that too.
And just
I
because
like his touchdown. I like his touchdown for sure.
Because I teased that a little bit. So hear me out on this. If you're feeling especially, I don't want to say the other word, but if you're feeling especially lucky, I'll go with that. There's 3 guys here, and you could make a really interesting bet, and I'm pretty sure this is allowed. First touchdown, Saquon Barkley at plus 350, Travis Kelce at plus 850, and Kareem Hunt at plus 650. Let's just say theoretically, right? Let's say you're not a big bettor. Let's say you put $5 or even $1, right, on each of them. So again, if it's Kelce, $85, you bet $1. If it's Barkley, it's $35. If it's Hunt, $650. I think all 3 of those guys are incredibly live to be the first touchdown of the game. And if it's one of those 3, you're making a pretty banger profit regardless of what your unit size is per bet.
I just know
Saquon. Suck when you waste, if your unit size $30 or $10, you're gonna put $30 on 3 different guys just for Dallas Goedert at plus 1,300 to get the first touchdown. Pissed. And I'm gonna
also
be celebrating.
Saquon's prop for a touchdown is probably gonna be the most bet thing in the entire season.
It's minus 210.
Yeah, it's gonna be in every parlay. I can see him just not even scoring.
I'm not touching it.
Them getting close, and then just Jalen Hurts steals them all.
Jalen Hurts, tush push. I could so see it happening. The big game, everyone's gonna be betting Saquon.
Also, I know I bet it every year of the Chiefs Super Bowl is Patrick Mahomes rushing yards. It's either right there or hits every time.
It's 30.5. You're telling me Patrick Mahomes isn't going to rush for a first down on 3rd and 10 3 times? Because I feel like that's all I see him do when I watch Chiefs games. 3rd and 10, nothing's open, scramble, first down, got 15 yards. And it's an easy 15 yards every time.
Then he stretches it and gets the extra
love that
4 yards.
Exactly. Or flops out of bounds and gets the call and gets another 15.
Yeah.
I
think
love
they'll be pretty lenient
30
to this time. I just hope it's a good game, honestly.
So I want to go back to this Dallas Goedert point for a minute, because you're not the first person that I've heard talking about Dallas Goedert in this game. And I'm like, the guy's scored 3 touchdowns all year. Like, I don't know why everybody's so hot on him to score a touchdown. Like, I'm looking for somebody to talk me into it, but I'm
look at his production in the playoffs this season. Look at his production in the playoffs this season versus in the regular season.
Let's see, they played the Rams and they played Washington in the playoffs. No touchdowns.
How many yards?
How many receptions? How many yards?
Had
touchdowns. If you're tight end,
4 receptions against the Rams for 56 yards, which that was a close game. And then in the blowout, he had 7 receptions for 85 yards, no TDs. I mean, look, I think potentially
his over-under's 4.5, right?
Yeah, and I hate that, but that's just me. There's no way I'm touching that.
I think they're gonna have to get him involved. That's the thing.
I think it all really depends on what Saquon's doing. Like, I really hope they shut Saquon down, and we're just gonna have to see Jalen Hurts just toss the rock.
I could see them off rip, just trying to get Jalen going to start the game. I could see Goddard getting in 2 or 3 receptions in the first drive or two, just trying to get Jalen going, some checkdowns.
Holy. So Saquon Barkley ran for 205 yards against the Rams. Am I reading that right?
Yeah.
That's
How much did he have?
insanity.
He
And
had
then
even
118
more
against
against
Washington.
That snow game was so cool. His second touchdown, that sealed game, was sick.
Dude, he's unbelievable.
And what's his line for this game? Like 112?
Yeah, 111.5.
What do you
Tell you
what do you
what.
guys think the line will close at on the game?
Probably
I said
pretty
I think
close
it's going to go towards
to what it is
2.
right now. I mean,
Minus 115, then minus 135 right now.
No, I'm saying.
I mean, I've been watching it
I
bounce
think they'll end
between.
up closing it too. Chiefs -2.
I don't know. I thought that initially too, but based on how it's been going for the last week and a half or however long it's been since they put out the lines, it's basically just bounced from Chiefs -1 to Chiefs -1.5. So
Yeah,
unless something crazy happens in the next few days,
you're going to get late big money on Chiefs probably. All the big dogs are
possible.
going to bet Chiefs on
It's
Sunday.
possible.
I could see him making a pick 'em right before the game.
Like Dave Portnoy probably going to throw like 500K on Chiefs.
So what you're saying is if you're betting the Chiefs, get your money in now.
Yes, if you're betting the Chiefs, get your money in. I mean, blank, but obviously you want the best chances.
Okay, let's make this fun. Top 3 guys for an anytime touchdown. Go.
Dante, you want to lead that
I'll give you mine while you guys
I'll
are thinking.
I'll start it off. Touchdown scores, top 3. I hate to say it. I'm gonna say Saquon, even though I just
Okay, let me
I
rephrase
can't
the
see him
question.
score.
I got to rephrase the question because I totally asked the question wrong because obviously you're going to say Saquon Barkley with the lines included. Because obviously you could bet Saquon to score a touchdown, but you're not making any money on that.
I think the
We're
easy
saying best
answer
value
everyone
touchdowns?
wants is
Okay,
Best value
that's fine. We can go.
touchdown?
We can go with that. Best value for anytime
See,
touchdowns or favorite
everyone's
anytime
on-
touchdown bets that aren't
everyone's
named
on
Saquon
D-Hop.
Barkley.
Everyone's on D-Hop, and I don't like
Really?
that at all. He's plus 425. Yeah, I've seen a lot of D-Hop because his line, like it's so weird that
He's
it's
plus
so
400
low. I could see him
for
getting
touchdown.
touchdown, but I don't like it.
So what are we
I
doing?
like
This is going to be
I'd say
top
it-
3 favorite?
your favorite 3 touchdown scores. Who would you bet? Because like you said, I wouldn't bet Saquon Barkley at minus 210.
So I'm just going to throw this out here because obviously there's something going on here that I don't know. But I'm trying to figure out where the love is for DeAndre Hopkins when in the entire playoffs he has 1 catch for 11 yards.
Like I said, with
He's
Andy Reid,
D-Hop, man.
Andy's going to switch it up.
Yeah, like he's gonna.
Teams switch it up in the Super
He was the
Bowl.
best in the league at one point. Like he's in the Super Bowl. To say he's not can't get open a couple
So
times.
all of a
is
sudden
crazy.
he's going to jump Juju. He's going to jump
No, I don't.
Hollywood Brown. I mean,
I like Juju. Listen, I like Juju. That's
like I'm just trying to
be
figure
my
out.
other
Like,
one.
are you saying that they're going to put him in red zone situations? Like that's where he's going to get on the field?
Yeah, or you might
Maybe.
do something crazy. It's D-Hop.
I actually want to look at something here. Well, you guys go ahead and keep talking.
Like I said,
I got to find some
like I said
information
with
here.
AB, like AB. I mean, he helped him for sure at the season. Dude, when you're that good and you're the best, like just get open. You're in the Super Bowl. Throw you the ball. I like Juju, but that's just because
Yeah,
I'm a
Dante,
Steelers
give
fan.
it-
I love Juju. Yeah.
3
So,
best touchdowns.
I like Juju. I like Mr. Pfizer. I like Travis, and I hate him, but I think Jalen Hurts will get a touchdown. I can visualize that to perfection. Just he might get 2 of them.
So here's
So
what's
you
interesting
got
to me. So
Jalen, Kelsey,
Mr. Pfizer, and Juju.
Juju. I'll go. I'm going to go Xavier Worthy. Look at his production in the playoffs this season. He has been my favorite bet of the week against the Bills was Xavier Worthy. The Chiefs traded up, took the Bills' pick to take Xavier Worthy. Oh, this guy scored a touchdown, and he scored one against towards the end of the season. I want to say his production went up, but I really like Xavier Worthy. Mr. Pfizer, Travis Kelsey, really like him. Just big game. I think Dante was right. I think he scored one in every one except one, so why not? And then I hate that I have 2 the same as Dante, but Jalen Hurts, he's going to get a tush push.
So I will also agree with Kelsey. I think he's probably the best bet, seeing that I don't even understand why he's plus money on this. Like
Yeah, and
the
great
line,
money,
it just
great
honestly
plus
strictly on the line alone, he's probably my favorite touchdown scorer bet. And the other 2, I went complete other directions from you guys. One of them I went AJ Brown, and the other one I went Kareem Hunt. I think both of those guys are also incredibly live for TDs.
I
But
think
just
Kareem Hunt's a good
to go back
one.
to our conversation real quick on DeAndre Hopkins, prior to week 18, which was the week they sat everybody, so he came out 3 weeks prior, 15, 16, 17, 45, 49, 47% of snaps, right? Sits week 18, week 19 they got a bye. Comes out in the playoffs, 31% of the snaps in their first playoff game against the Rams. And then last game against Washington, I get it, it was a blowout, played 18%. So he's basically, honestly, in the last game they played, talking about D-Hop. See, he had this basically the same snap share as Justin Watson in their last game. Just throwing that out there. I mean, Hollywood Brown was out there for 65% of snaps, Worthy at 82, and Juju at 58. So look, again, I think if the line is that long that you want to say D-Hop touchdown, like I think that's a fun, maybe like a flyer bet, but I'm certainly not putting it in a parlay.
I mean, he's 32
my
years
thought
old.
behind it was with D-Hop, I'm probably gonna take his touchdown bet just because I do like it. But for D-Hop, I was leaning more towards the over 1.5 receptions because, I mean, you're telling me I'm wrong to say it wouldn't be the most, like, such an Andy Reid move to take this vet. He's proved himself. I mean, he used to be one of the best receivers in the league. You know, you haven't used him at all. What'd you say? He had 1 reception for 11 yards or whatever in the playoffs?
In 2 playoff games, yeah.
Yeah, and now you think the Eagles, he's not on their radar. And Andy Reid probably has some game plan where he'll give him the ball 5 times, get him 50 yards. Yeah.
Back to your Kareem
I love the
Hunt,
Kareem Hunt, too.
Disgusting.
I'm going to change.
I'm changing.
I'm
going
to change Jalen Hurts for Kareem. Yeah. Yeah, I'm taking
Kareem is. I think that's going to be a great.
So, going back to one of your points from a couple minutes ago, Max, one of my favorite bets that I found, Xavier Worthy. Now, the line isn't incredible, but Xavier Worthy over 52 receiving yards, to me, that just seems way too low. I mean, if he catches one bomb, he's practically there. And I think he gets involved. I really do.
No, he's been involved all playoffs. Gonna get involved.
I really do. If Mahomes does what he does and goes crazy, everyone's going to get involved.
Who did the Chiefs play in the divisional?
The Chiefs played the Texans.
Yeah, I want to say he scored a touchdown in that game, too.
I think he did.
Yeah, he's been really involved in the playoffs. I can't believe I couldn't think of who they played 3 weeks ago.
All right,
I would love for them to put that white boy on Xavier Worthy. I would love that.
That'll probably be. Honestly, the matchup we'll probably get is Worthy against Big Play Slay. I would assume.
Yeah.
Does this white kid play outside? Is he the one?
No, he's like a slot / safety.
Okay.
Who is the Chiefs' best receiver?
Who is the Chiefs? What was that question?
Who's the Chiefs' best receiver?
I think it's Worthy. I mean, from a talent perspective, I think it has to be Worthy. I mean, if we're talking about like what they've done over their career, I mean, it just depends. Right this minute, I think it has to. I mean, Hollywood Brown, I think, is the only other guy on that team that has a legitimate. I just, unfortunately, D-Hop, obviously, his career accolades speak for themselves. But right this minute, I don't think he's. I don't think he's again in the snap counts show. I just don't think he's at that same level that he used to be right now.
Yeah,
Tom did it with nobody either. He's just. It doesn't matter. He's Patrick Mahomes. All right,
Dante, it's your tight 9, buddy. Who is getting a sack in this game?
That's my favorite bets.
That's why I went to you, buddy.
Listen, I like looking at odds too. I
can take over.
I love Patrick Mahomes getting sacked. I think.
Is that a bet?
No.
On the Hard Rock, probably not. Hard Rock is, by the way, the worst sporting.
Dude, that was minus 450.
By the way, that is solely Dante's opinion. That is not the opinion of Fletch Factor Media or Fletch Factor Enterprises. That is strictly his personal opinion. Thank you.
I can get by on that. If Dante's still looking, I can take over who I think's going to go.
Go ahead, Max.
You want to take over?
Yeah.
I think there's no one else to look to other than Jalen Carter. I really do think there's no one else to look to. Jalen Carter will be a Hall of Famer one day. I think he's going to be an Eagle lifer. I think he will go down as arguably the best Eagles defensive lineman of all time. Name a person, I think he's got him.
I like both their best players to get a sack. I like Chris Carter and I like.
I am shocked. I mean, obviously, look, the line isn't great.
Jones.
But neither of you guys even mentioned my boy George Karlaftis out of Iowa. George
Yeah,
Karlaftis
but
is a
I
freaking
think
man.
if I'm gonna bet anyone on the Chiefs, I'm gonna bet Chris Jones. Karlaftis
I
has
like
the
betting
best odds
I like
to
betting
get
your
it.
best player on your D line to get a sack. I did the
Jalen,
TJ all year.
That's where I was going with Jalen Carter.
Yeah, I like it.
He's a beast. What is this? His second year in the league, I think.
I think this is his second year. And I'm
Second.
still trying to figure out your
He's a
infatuation
beast.
with Jalen Carter. I'm like, he didn't go to Miami. Like, he went to Georgia. Like, but Max
Georgia,
is
yeah.
all over this guy.
Dude, he's just a beast. He's a fucking beast.
He's a good man.
He's 23, probably.
Okay,
And
so
I
George
really
Karlaftis led the Chiefs in sacks this year, I believe, with 8. And then Tershawn
He's
Wharton was
23.
number 2. So Chris Jones was number 3 on the team in sacks this year.
Wait, so who's number 2?
Tershawn Wharton, who I think is the other defensive end. Who, by the way, Tershawn Wharton's line to get a sack is plus 260.
You gotta love those.
Hey, listen, while we're on the topic of the Chiefs defense, what are you saying, Dante?
One thing, I love, what are you guys, kickers over unders?
I was
Like,
gonna go there.
One of my favorite.
I got
honestly,
one of my biggest points this year.
I just love, especially big games like that. I love field goals.
Yeah, like I think one of my interesting stances on that is I think potentially matching up, because again, Harrison Butker over a field goal and a half is like minus 165. So I mean, there's really no benefit to betting it solo, but I might pair it up with like I talked about earlier, the Chiefs over, because I feel like the Chiefs over hits, he's hitting 2 field goals. Like I feel like that's a natural pairing.
I'm glad you brought that up, Dante, because this was one of my points on it. This is what, for anyone who watches the Josh Bate College Football Show, this is what we would call a paper-popping stat. Jake Elliott this season was 1 for 8 from 50 yards. He had a 1 attempt over 50 yards in the playoffs, and he missed it. So my thought on this game, I could so see it. 6-point game in the fourth quarter. Eagles have the ball in the field goal range, 55-yarder. Make it. You put the game away. So don't be surprised when you see that come in. He's 1 for 8 from 50-plus this season. And for anyone who listens to Part of My Take, Max, on Part of My Take, he said Jake Elliott is a problem.
So what was the point of that story, that he's going to go under 1.5 field goals?
No,
he's
I was just saying, don't. My point is he went 1 for 8 on the season from 50-plus, and he's about to play in the Super Bowl, and kickers get in their head. So don't be surprised when the outcome of the game changes because Jake Elliott misses a 50-plus yard field goal.
Again, just another reason to bet on the Chiefs, but we don't have to go there. Dig, I may have found my potential lock of the game by accident.
I love it.
You ready for this? Chiefs over 2.5 touchdowns.
No,
what is that?
That's a game special. Chiefs total touchdowns. The over-under is 2.5. Minus 160 to score 3 touchdowns.
You can't parlay that though, can you?
You can't parlay it?
Yeah.
Usually there's like weird game lines that they release. You can't parlay.
Okay, yeah, it doesn't have the SGP.
Usually.
Yeah. Thank you, Hard Rock. So I guess you can't.
See, that's like a day Portnoy. Like, I'm gonna throw a quick 500,000.
Right, like that. Let's see. If I bet the over on that, let's say I put. It's not bad, but I think it's one that's gonna happen. So I might again just try to take some free money on it.
Hey Fletch, I would like to talk about a little bit of just talk on the significance of the three-peat. Reminds me of the 07 Patriots. Going into the Giants, they were like a 10-point favorite or whatever. And they freaking lose to Eli Manning on a 2-minute drill. I mean, that's it. That's really the only team you could compare it to is you compare it to 72 Dolphins, undefeated, 07 Patriots, undefeated till the Super Bowl, and no one's ever done a three-peat. No one's even had a chance at a three-peat. So, I mean, this is a big game for NFL history. It's crazy.
Now, while we're diving into these storylines, I said this, like, I think the day after the AFC-NFC Championship game, that it would just only be too fitting if the Eagles won this game, because you know everybody and their brother is betting on the Chiefs. So Vegas would just make a stupid amount of money if the Eagles win.
Then you have to look at that too. Yeah, but I think money line it. I think it will be Eagles. Yeah, there is going to be. I think it's going to be like 60-40.
60.
I think more
The
people.
idiots like me that know the Chiefs are going to win, but hate the Chiefs are going to bet.
People
Eagles
hate the Chiefs that much,
though.
they'll bet against. I'm not one of them, so I'm not taking any money line because I hate both teams. Passion.
Okay. Let's throw another curveball at you guys because I enjoy doing that. Chiefs first half spread, you can lay half a point plus 110 or lay a point and a half for plus 120.
For Chiefs minus for minus
their last
1.5
two Super
for the
Bowls,
first
they were
half.
down double digits going into the second half. Listen, the Chiefs are going to be losing this whole game as they've done the last two Super Bowls. And then find a way in the fourth quarter through third downs. There's going to be a 3rd and 14 in the fourth quarter where they're down 8 points. You're going to say this is how you put the Chiefs out of their own misery. Like I said, Patrick Mahomes will probably scramble 10 seconds and then find a way to get first down, or there'll be a penalty or something. But I don't like Chiefs first half. I actually really like Eagles first half. You know what? I'm in. That's my sheet. Eagles first half.
I'll probably stay away from first half. Like you said, Fletch, second half lives are going to be something I'll look at for sure. A lot of over second half.
Yeah, I love
prop
that Chiefs
overs
flag.
lives second half. If Kelsey has like you said, if Kelsey has like 1 or 2 catches and his line drops to like 4.5,
his line will be like 4.
He's in the second half they're not down. He won't get like 4 in one drive.
Right.
Like you said, Fletch, I like your take on that. The live second half is going to be the live second half.
Which is why I'm like,
unless it's a high
semi-leaning to like, for again, because I think there's going to be a lot of second half bets that I really like. I'm almost leaning to sort of stay away, especially from like full game bets, so to speak. It just kind of off the rip, maybe have a few, but not load up on that. And again, I'll just throw this out there, and maybe this will have no impact on the way you guys are thinking. Maybe it will. I don't know. But again, the only team that beat the Chiefs this year, who were the Bills. Last time these guys matched up, which was the AFC Championship game, Bills were up 4 going into halftime. Just throwing that out there. Again, I don't know what that means. If you guys think the Eagles are a lot better than the Bills, maybe. But again, and then let's look at first half. Yeah, they were up decent on the Texans after the first half too. I mean, look, that's just my take. But I don't know. Again, a lot of weird things. Like, again, we keep saying it over and over again. But if Saquon just goes on an absolute tear, it could just throw a total curveball in everything we're talking about right now.
Yeah, I know. And listen, I can so see that happen too.
I could see Saquon's the best running back in the league. I guess the only person I think is close would be Derrick Henry. I don't know if y'all can think of anyone else. Saquon is a beast. You got to look at the D coordinator for the Chiefs.
This is a horrific.
I really think he's going to put up a masterclass. Like I said, second half, it's going to be all Chiefs. He's going to put pressure at the right times. Third downs are going to be a nightmare for Jalen Hurts. I'm saying everything I've said points to Chiefs winning, and I'm still going to bet the Eagles. But
this might be a absolutely horrific take and might not even make it. But I hate taking overs like that because of one sole reason. I could see Saquon just getting a horrible injury. Like that's another reason. Like I could see someone just getting. I can envision just someone real bad injury, and I want this to be clipped if it does happen.
Last year,
that's what I'm saying. Like something real bad.
Who was the linebacker for the Niners? That literally got injured running off the field.
Oh, yeah, he tore his Achilles running off the field.
Was it Fred Warner?
Yeah, Greenlaw.
No, not
Greenlaw.
Yeah, it was
Greenlaw. Trent Greenlaw.
Yeah, dude.
It's Trent, right?
That's what I'm saying. Like, dude,
so now that we've kind of
literally running off the
down
field.
a dark hallway here, I'm going to try to reroute the ship here a little bit. So I'm just quickly here while you guys are finding yourselves, going down a little bit of the Factors Fantasy Corner, just because, look, this is the biggest fantasy event of the year, period, end of discussion, as I'm known to say. And over on DraftKings, look, I'm not a DraftKings partner. They're not paying me to say this. They're just where I've been playing the probably 99% of my fantasy contests for the last decade plus. That's just where I feel comfortable playing. I know the contest like the back of my hand, and if you listen to any podcasters, including myself, that's their primary source that they're going to be talking about. So, other great thing, There's some really awesome opportunities to make money over there on the Super Bowl. They've got the $20 Millie Maker, where a $20 lineup gets you a chance to make $1 million. They've got the $3 $100K tournament. So there's going to be some opportunities. I wish they would have done a cheaper Millie Maker, but who knows? Anyway, so there are a couple of things that I wanted to throw out there with this. One thing, again, to keep in mind, again, I always talk about the storyline, but more important than that, with these fantasy lineups, when there's going to be 10 million entries in there, and I say that number, that's not the exact number, but that's just figuratively speaking, you got to get different. You got to find a way to get different. And primarily for me, one way that I'm going to go is I'm going to have to take some shots on some cheaper guys in the captain. It's just, to me, I don't see a way around it. Everyone and their brother is going to be jamming Saquon, and you're going to have something freakish happen for that to work out. Like, to be able to have a captain cheap enough, or to have a rest of a lineup cheap enough to fit the payroll with Saquon and the captain, again, somebody is going to have to, like we were just talking about with Dante, somebody's going to have a freak injury, and somebody's going to have to come off the bench and make something happen, because to pay in the captain $18,000 for Saquon on a $50,000 payroll, I mean, to me, it's going to be hard to get there. It may work, but you're going to really have to do some crazy shit. Again, I'll try to keep this brief.
Hunt in the captaincy is.
You took the words right out of my mouth, buddy.
Play.
He is my favorite. He's my favorite captain.
It's 1.5, right, for the captain?
Yeah. So for me, again, Kareem Hunt's my favorite. I think he's the guy. He's honestly priced probably way too cheap, especially in the captain. You can get him at 9.6, and I think he's going to be heavily involved. So to me, he's one of my favorite.
Saquon's 18?
18, and Kareem Hunt's 9.6 in the captain. You can get Kelsey at 13.5, which I think is also live. If you want to take a shot on Worthy at 12,000 in the captain. But other than that, like, they're really, that's what I'm saying. Or again, if you're like Max and you want to have a weekend getaway with Dallas Goedert, you could put him in the captain as well. I wouldn't do that.
What's he at for the captain? I would never do that. What's he at?
Yeah, but that's how you win those things, dude. You got to pick someone crazy.
You either got to do that,
pick someone crazy,
or, because that's the thing, right? Like, you jam Saquon in the captain, like, you're maybe getting one of Jalen Hurts, Pat Mahomes. Like, you're getting one other stud. Like, you're not jamming three studs in, because there's just no value. There's nobody.
What's he
unless
at?
You think
captain
Saquon. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think you have to prioritize him in the flex at 12,000.
How much is Mahomes?
Mahomes in the captain?
Yeah, but
flex?
You gotta kind of love that many. You kind of gotta love that, because, like I said, if he does get injured or something does happen where he gets shut down, and you got that many people out.
Mahomes is at 15 in the captain. Hurts is actually more expensive at 15.6.
Yeah, but Spagnuolo thrives in the passing defense. Like you said, Fletch, like, the Chiefs don't have that good of a run defense.
So here's a hot take.
I don't see a world Saquon's getting shut down, no matter what Spagnuolo does.
So here's the hot take of the night, because I think I know where we all kind of sit on this. Is there a world where in a fantasy lineup that one of these two defenses could be viable?
Wait, say that again?
Is there a world where in this game one of these two defenses could be fantasy viable? Or is it just going to be too much of a shootout that it's going to probably be irrelevant? I mean, looking in the flex, obviously you're not... I mean, look, that's another way to get completely crazy as the captain of defense and just pray that one of these two sides' offense goes to hell, which I don't necessarily recommend. But in the flex, you could play the Eagles D at 42, Chiefs at 4,000, which is pretty cheap for a defense. So I think, again, these sites are kind of thinking like I am. Like, this is probably going to be a high-scoring game. There's going to have to be, some type of defensive touchdown or multiple defensive touchdowns for either of these two defenses to really be viable. But I'm kind of building a lineup here just to kind of see what I could get away with. And, all right, that's not bad.
Last defensive touchdown in a Super Bowl was in 2017. So that might be a little sneaker too.
This could be really... This could be
out at you guys for special teams, or...
With the new kick, there's going to be a kick return on with the new kickoff rule.
Dude, that Chiefs returner is live to take one to the house. I'm not saying I have the balls to bet.
It's hard to take one to the house. I thought it was going to be easier with this.
Imagine Cooper DeJean crib. That'd be awesome.
If a white corner gets
so I had a few Fletch, if we got time for it, I had a few,
fire away.
I had 3 questions I wanted to ask you guys. Just get your quick
hold on.
opinion
Give me 1 second here. So hear me out on this. I just built this lineup without even just kind of going through and seeing what I could fit. It wound up being a 5-1, 5 Chiefs, 1 Philadelphia Eagle. Kareem Hunt in the captain, Saquon Barkley, Hollywood Brown, Harrison Butker, Pat Mahomes, and Xavier Worthy.
I love Hollywood.
Goddard is...
Fletch, you don't trust your boy Juju in the Super Bowl?
He would be a fun cheap one. He's only $2,000 in the flex.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
No shit.
Goddard is coming in at $5,800. So he is kind of in that no man's land where if you're going to go, like, because you've got Worthy and Pfizer at 8,000, Devonta Smith's at 7,400, which is probably a little too expensive. Then you kind of drop off a cliff with like the backup quarterbacks, and then you get to Goddard at 5,800. And then after that, again, you basically get Pacheco, kickers, your boy D-Hop at 44 if you're feeling, you know.
I don't think he's going to go crazy.
I don't know if I'd play him in a lineup, though.
I gotta look at one other thing. So before you start asking me questions, Max, there's one other thing I wanted to look at because I forgot to look at it earlier. Just again for a crazy bet. Okay, it's not as crazy as I thought. And so Noah Gray's anytime touchdown is plus 475. Like that doesn't really intrigue me. I think if it was longer of a line than that, then I might be more interested because he's in there in short distance and occasionally they'll switch it up and throw to him. But all right, fire away.
I just had 3 quick questions. Get a quick opinion on it. Andy Reid wins the Super Bowl. Where does he rank? Is it like is he number 2? Where's he rank?
Never Belichick.
Best QBs.
I like him at 2.
I think it depends. Where do you rank Belichick?
Does it cement him at 2? You can't. Belichick's 1.
If Belichick's 1,
yeah,
I think if Reid wins this one, how many is that for Reid? 4?
Yeah, 4.
Let me put it this way. I think all I really need to say on that is I don't think he surpasses Belichick, if that's kind of what you were looking for, but I don't know if there's anyone else that you really... I don't know. I feel like that was kind of the question is, does he surpass Belichick with a Super Bowl here? My personal answer is no, but I think it's close. I think he goes and wins another one, wins another 2. I think he's in. I think he might be above Belichick.
Yeah, I was more saying, does he cement himself as the 2? Because I don't think you're not touching Belichick anytime soon.
But I'm just trying to think back. Like, there are some old coaches that are probably in the conversation that go like way the hell back. Like, where does Don Shula come into that conversation? Who had an undefeated season?
Don Shula's top. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, Don Shula only has 2 though.
I mean, what?
But he also has.
Chuck Noll's got to be in the conversation somewhere. Where did he win? 2 out of 3 years?
No, like I still put Chuck Noll over Andy Reid.
But there's coaching rankings is weird for me because right now
the obvious of Vince
like
Lombardi.
We're just looking right. I mean, but that's the thing. We're looking basically strictly on numbers, right? And like Super Bowl's won. But I think my personal opinion, I think there's a lot more intangibles than that. But if we're talking about like just legacy, I guess if that's what we're looking at, then yeah, it's probably Belichick and then Andy Reid after that.
Yeah, no, that's what I was thinking.
And then if Belichick stays, or I'm sorry, if Andy Reid stays on this run, then he can go coach at North Carolina.
Yeah. Go back to college. What was your next question?
Okay, and then my next question. Let's say the Chiefs win, because they're going to. Is Kelsey done? There's been rumors that he's going to retire.
I'm gonna get a little bit.
If you're Travis Kelsey, or you retire?
I don't know if I could answer that in that respect, but I've got a decent gut feeling that if they win, he's done. I think we've seen his production decline. I think we've seen his brain kind of leave football a little bit. And
is it the same if they lose?
I don't think so. I would say if they win, there's a good chance he retires. If they lose, there's probably a better chance that he doesn't than I don't know if better. It's hard to say. I feel like if he wins, like that narrative is all there, and I think it just makes more sense. Like Jerome Bettis winning the Super Bowl in Detroit, like the narrative was there, and I think if Kelsey wins it, I think he gets the 3-peat. I mean, it's like, what are you really staying around for? You know what I mean? Like you've pretty much. I mean, where is the up from here?
I could see him retiring either.
I almost want to say if they win, he stays. To see if they can make it
like
4.
that
Why
too.
not?
It's
an interesting
school of thought.
If they lose, he's done. I almost want to I think my opinion on it is if they win, he'll stay. If they lose, he's done.
Or is it some type of
look at his brother. Look at his brother.
Sign a new contract. Too.
Or do we go a whole step further and say that Kelsey pulls a bit of a Gronkowski, retires, and then if the Chiefs are struggling to start next season, he comes back?
Dude,
yeah,
that's exactly what I would do. That's so smart. If I was about to retire, I'd do the same thing.
We got it all out for that question because I got my last one. Live odds of the Kelsey proposal. Those games.
Do they have the over-under for amount of times of Taylor Swift shown yet?
The confetti coming down, the 3 trophies in his hand.
I mean,
Mahomes
I would bet
standing behind him, backing him. I mean, it's storybook. You're telling me you wouldn't see that on the front of New York Post on Monday
morning?
What was the odds?
Fuck yeah.
What are the odds?
What are the odds? I have no clue. I'm asking you what the odds are.
I have no idea. I would say it doesn't happen.
Like, if the Chiefs win it, would that actually happen? I just thought it was a stupid question to ask because I saw.
Because there's still a part of me that believes that this relationship is bullshit. It's strictly, I don't want to say political, but it's all for it's publicity. In my opinion, maybe they do love each other. I don't know. To me it doesn't feel that way for me. I don't see it happening.
Fletch, you wanna?
I would sprinkle.
We never did any props, like our favorite prop.
Where are they? Are they even posted on Hard Rock right now? Like, I'm trying to find them.
Why,
buddy?
Like, I've done player props, but
I got a lot of props for you.
Let's just give our favorite ones. My number one.
I was gonna say
number one is Juju over 15.5 yards.
Okay.
Factor. I love that so much. I feel like they get him involved in like big games, like a little bit, like just like 1 or 2 plays in important times.
Okay. There is something that we haven't talked about that I don't know why this just came back up in my head, probably because I saw a name. So do we know, and I might have to dig in and find the answer to this, but do we know the certainty of Kenneth Gainwell's health? And I'll explain why in a minute. But I want to take a look and see if we know whether Kenneth Gainwell is playing or not. Because if he's not...
And is that the only injury from both teams? That's actually crazy.
Okay, so Gainwell's not showing... he's questionable. Gainwell's questionable. Okay, so that's something to watch, and I'll explain why. Because Gainwell has gotten a role in the Philly offense basically as a pass catcher. If he sits, they're not going to bring Shipley off the bench. I mean, Saquon is going to have to be the pass catcher. And I think Fletch, for him at like 12 yards receiving.
I also think if you're questionable going into the Super Bowl, I mean, I feel like you got to be playing.
As 4 hours ago, Kenneth Gainwell remains in NFL's concussion protocol.
Concussion, see, they might not even allow him. Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. But how long has he been in that protocol? For like 3 weeks? Like, I feel he
got his concussion in the NFC Championship. So it hasn't even been 2 weeks. It's been a week and a half.
It's a little shimmy to me.
He could get out of it, though.
We could see him come out of it on Saturday. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that's what I was going to say. Today's Wednesday. He's got Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You have 4 days. He should be out of it, unless it was a bad
that's what I'm saying.
concussion.
There's no way.
I don't remember. Was it a bad?
If one of my good players on my team is missing the Super Bowl over concussion, I'd be fucking pissed. He'd probably be pissed too.
I'd imagine.
I don't even think he doesn't even have any lines right now for anything, which is interesting.
Yeah.
How long was Tua out?
Like a month.
Yeah. Tua was turned into a vegetable. So that's
how long was Mason Rudolph out for when he got knocked out?
Not as long as he should have been.
There's so many levels. So many levels to concussion protocol, though. Yeah, there's so many levels to concussion protocol. You could be in concussion protocol just because you hit your head, and they're like, "We're putting you in concussion protocol," and you're fine in a day. Yeah. And then you could be in concussion protocol for what, like 8 weeks?
Yeah, I didn't see his concussion. Yeah, I guess like how.
Well, I guess after a certain amount of time, they just put you as out, not in concussion protocol.
No, like you said, he has 4 days. Like, come on. Biggest game
so Dante, give me your favorite. We don't have to do a certain number. Let's all give our favorite props.
No, my favorite prop is Juju at 15.5 yards.
Oh, so you're only doing one. You just want to give one prop.
Oh, I mean that's my biggest one. I also don't have all my picks. You know, it's still early on.
I mean, I think I'm sticking with the 2 that I gave earlier. Kareem Hunt over 41.5 rushing and Worthy over 52 receiving.
You gotta love Kareem. I like Kareem touchdown.
I've got like 3 or 4 that are my favorites. I really like Hurts over 213.5.
I'll tell you, I don't. Yards. That's another one. I think based on the narrative that I'm pushing, I think that only makes sense.
Yeah. I like Hurts. I like both D-Hop's receptions and yards at 1.5 and 11.5. I like both of those a lot. Harrison Butker over 1.5 field goals. I really like that. I almost want to make that my favorite prop. And then the two other ones I have is Jalen Carter's sack, and I added on Kareem Hunt over 41.5 rushing yards. I like that, Fletch. I really like that.
I love Kareem.
My
I
three
think
favorite
it's bad
is
how
Hunt.
much we all love Kareem.
Yeah, my three favorite are Hunt over 41.5, D-Hop over 11.5 receiving yards, and D-Hop over 1.5 reception. Yeah, those are my three favorite. I really like the Butker over 1.5 field goals. I really like that. I wouldn't touch Jake Elliott's over 1.5. I wouldn't touch that. I don't know why. When I was looking at the lines, something in me, I just had this weird feeling where I looked at his over 50 plus field goal percentage this season, and I could so see him ending with one field goal and costing them the game. I mean, I could see that.
We don't got we don't got our boy Boz back there.
Best kicker in the NFL. No debate.
Hey, I'll tell you what, Jason Sanders for the Miami Dolphins. He's been
Not even Aubrey, not even the guy from the Cowboys. It's mental. You only see this guy miss when he slips.
Boswell, well then again, I mean,
Or
our
best.
offense was pretty
Dude,
horrendous.
I've never
Boswell
seen
broke
Jason
our
Sanders
single
miss
season
a field
record
goal
in like
matters.
week 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I can't recall the last time Jason Sanders has missed a meaningful field goal.
When's the last time the Dolphins?
Fourth quarter.
Yeah, I know. How many we
Last
have
one I could.
Listen, you got to think about series. We have meaningful field goals every single game. Every single game we play.
Dolphins
it comes
Cardinals.
down to
Dolphins
a
Cardinals.
meaningful
so
field goal.
bad.
Dolphins
Yeah,
Cardinals. He
I
banged
agree,
one.
but-
Banged one with like 20
I mean, well,
seconds, and I still lost the game.
I will say this much though, Max.
Hey, Cowboys, a buzzer beater to make the playoffs last
If
season.
I had probably to pick 5 kickers that I needed a 50-yarder plus to win a game, obviously Boz is up there, Aubrey's probably up there, but I would say Sanders probably makes top 5.
I mean, the fact that you're saying probably makes top 5 is crazy. I think it's guaranteed top 3, arguably top 2. I think it's.
It can't be.
His,
I put him in the 3 spot. I put him in the 3 spot behind.
I like
the fact
the
that we're even
Boswell.
talking about this is
I like the
hilarious.
spot.
But does Justin
Super
Tucker?
Bowl week, we're
is
talking
is
about
Justin
Jason
Tucker
Sanders.
even? I know. Is Justin Tucker even still in the? Or did he just fall from grace so bad this year that he doesn't come back?
The worst year
he's
of
getting
his entire
accused
life.
of groping women in a massage.
Yeah, him and Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
So it's
had the
actually
worst
funny.
year of his entire life.
The massage therapist, there were like 6 of them that accused him. I want to say, I don't know the exact number. I want to say it was 6. And all the accusations end in 2019 when, or whatever year it was that Deshaun got accused. Was it 2019? Seems like it was too long ago.
He's gonna get it.
Whatever year Deshaun got accused of by the 40 women is the year Justin Tucker's accusation stopped. So he was doing the same shit. Deshaun got caught, and he's like, all right, I got to lay off. I can't be.
All right, so we're starting to go down the rabbit hole again.
Yeah, I was about to say, talking about
I'm gonna try to reel
about Steelers.
it back a little bit. So we are just about kind of running out of time here, but there are a couple more things that I think we gotta just touch before we wrap it up. So we did our favorite props. I know one thing that we gotta throw out there because Max was twisting my arm about it. Super Bowl final score prediction, because if it happens, gotta clip it.
Yep. Who wants to take
Max,
lead?
you can lead us off here. Yeah, you can lead us off here.
All right, so for my final score prediction, this is completely out of my heart. I really think the Chiefs are going to win, but if the Eagles win, it's going to be 30-24 Eagles. And if the Eagles win, it's because Jalen Hurts protected the ball. If the Chiefs win, it's because they won on 3rd down and they won the 4th quarter. Remember that. 3rd down is going to be the biggest down for the Chiefs. You'll see.
So what was your final score?
I'm going Eagles.
Oh, your final score?
Fuck the Chiefs. Yeah. No, it was 30-24, but I hate it, but I'm going to stick with it.
30-24?
30-24 Eagles.
Yeah.
Chiefs are going to win.
You know, I'm never going to bet against one of the greats. I don't want to bet against greatness with the 3-peat. I like 24-17 Chiefs. 24-17 Chiefs.
What would that be? That would be 41.
Not really sure where this came to me from. I'm going 35-28 Chiefs.
So you're an over believer? Okay. So you think it's going to be, you think Mahomes is going to go crazy?
I see this game being like
that's what, 4 field goals?
13-10.
I'm sorry, 4 touchdowns, 2 field goals, and maybe a 2-point conversion, something like that.
Like we talked about, I can't see Jalen Hurts just.
What you guys
Saquon's going to have an amazing game.
Like, run me through how
you're out of my realm of expertise.
Yeah, halftime score.
Run me through how you guys see this game going. Like, how are you getting to Dante? How are you getting to 24-17 Chiefs? Is it going to be a
I just
Chiefs
think,
control
maybe,
it the
like
whole
you said,
way?
Saquon might score. No, I think Eagles might score early, but then I think Chiefs just pull away with it. I think they get a field goal before half and get a garbage time touchdown at the end, maybe. But
I like the field goal before half call. That's a winning team too.
Okay.
Fletch.
And you got to score touchdowns. You got to score touchdowns if you want to win.
I think part of my feeling goes back to that second half over, where I think that's why I have such a bad feel on the first half over under. But I think second half there's going to be scoring. Again, the Chiefs, like I said, the Chiefs are going to score. And I think, again, if the Eagles are going to stay in it, they're going to have to score. So, again, if they're both scoring, I mean, there's one thing that, let me put it this way. There's the 2 things the Chiefs are really freaking good at: scoring and scoring quickly. So, and again, like I said, especially even if Saquon I can't see this game as a slow-paced, like, both these teams are explosive. And it's the Super Bowl. Like, yeah, we'll probably see some good defensive plays, but again, like Max said, Mahomes will probably have some crazy third downs. Like, I do again, that's why I love that Chiefs over. I wholeheartedly believe the Chiefs are going to score. I do. And I think Philly's good enough where they're not going to get blown out. It's going to be a close game. And that's what I'm saying. Like, to me, again, look, I'll wholeheartedly admit it. I hate betting unders. It's just, I don't know if I've ever won an under, maybe once or twice, but I don't like betting unders. I feel like, again, I don't know how many ways I can say the exact same thing. I think the Chiefs are going to score, and I think it's going to be a close game. So you put those 2 things together, you've got high scoring.
Yeah, that's where we differ. I can't see it.
Not going to touch. Like I said earlier, I'm not going to touch them. I mean, Fletch,
not even a big
you got the over hitting by 14.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really sure where I just thought about it. I was like, okay, what do I see the Chiefs scoring in terms of touchdowns? I'm like, I could definitely see the Chiefs scoring 4 touchdowns, which is 28 points, plus a couple field goals. Maybe they have to get a 2-point conversion or something. That's how I kind of came up to that 35 number that I'm like, yeah, I could probably, if it's a 7-point game, which it could be. Again, who knows? It's such a crazy prediction, but to me, that those 2 numbers seem to fit.
Fletch, if you're confident in this 35-28, you better put a significant amount of units on Kareem Hunt touchdown, because if the Chiefs are putting up 35, Kareem Hunt is scoring a touchdown.
I would not say that I'm confident in that number whatsoever. I think it could be like, it could also wind up closer to what Dante's saying. I think the Chiefs, like I said, go over 24. Now, I think the Chiefs, like I said, I talked about that bet earlier too, over 2.5 touchdowns. I think the Chiefs put up 3 touchdowns at least. That puts them at 21. A field goal would then put them, again, 2 field goals, puts them at 24 to 27 with 2 field goals. Oh, again, it could be a 24, it could be a 27 to 21. Like, I think both teams, that's why I do agree with Max. I think that over is a really good number. If I had to lean one way or the under, I'd feel a lot more comfortable betting the over, because I would not bet against these two teams scoring, or I would not bet on them not to score, if that makes sense.
I mean, how often is Saquon popping off for a 50-yard touchdown? It's
but like, you got
towards the end of the season, it's felt like he's done it every game.
You got to think that going into the biggest game of the year, that's your main priority. Like, that should be your number one job. Like, why not just why not just all you have stop them, and if Jalen Hurts starts dicing up, then you try to switch the game plan. But like,
okay, I got to fire a question back at Max, because I think it is only appropriate compared to what he's been asking me. Saquon Barkley, 100 whatever, what is he at? 112 is his line.
We get 111.
Is that a lock or isn't it for the over? Because if it's not a lock, then I almost think you have to say the Chiefs win. I think he's got to rush for over 112 for the Eagles to win. Because if you think the Eagles win, I think you have to say that's a lock.
Do you think if he goes under that prop, they score over 20 points?
That's what I'm saying.
Under 100 yards?
If Saquon Barkley rushes for under 112 yards, you look at what he's done all season, like his numbers. Like he's gone over that plenty of times. They are riding him like a prize pony, my friend. So if you're saying that that's not a lock, I think you have to say the Chiefs win the game and potentially by, like I said, 7+.
So Fletch, to answer your question, I do not have Saquon's rushing yards. And my reasoning is Saquon could have an amazing game. Rush for 103 yards, 100 yards. He could do his job and do everything asked of him for under 110 yards. If I'm going anywhere yards, I'm going Saquon's rushing and receiving yards. Prop is at 128.5. I would like to see Saquon getting involved in the pass game. His over-under for receptions, I believe, is 2.5, 1.5 or 2.5. I'd like that over to hit. And if I'm going to touch anything with Saquon yards, it's going to be rushing and receiving. I could see them, because he doesn't get the ball a lot out of the backfield. But like I've been saying all podcasts, teams change shit up in the Super Bowl. Like you have to switch shit up. You can't just... You can't do what you've been doing all season. You're playing a team that's in the Super Bowl. They're in the Super Bowl for a reason. Teams make it championships. Teams win championships through defense. If you think Steve Spagnuolo isn't going to prepare for what you've been giving him all season, you're wrong. And they really haven't given Saquon the ball in the backfield too much in passing. And I could see that being something like it. If they want to switch things up and throw stuff at the team that's won the Super Bowl the last 2 seasons, that's something I can see him doing. Getting Saquon more involved in the pass game. So I think his line's at 2.5, I want to say.
Yeah, that's what usually it's at.
Yeah,
2.5 or 1.5.
And his rushing and receiving yards combined is 128.5. So if I was going to touch a yards, it would be that. You know, I could see him getting a pass on 3rd and 23 for 15. You know, like a check down, I'll just get a quick 15, make it 4th and 8. I could see him getting a few on, like 2nd and 4, 3rd and 5. I could see him getting I don't know. I could definitely see Saquon getting the ball. Hurts passing the ball to Saquon on the backfield more than normal. Not necessarily getting it 6 times, but, 3 or 4 passes for 35 yards.
Well, like I said before, if Gainwell sits, if for some reason he doesn't clear protocol, Saquon's passing numbers should go, and the passing game should go up exponentially. So
Exactly.
That's definitely something to keep an eye on as well. I'm looking at numbers. I mean, Saquon has smashed that 112 number, which is sort of amazing to me, honestly. But he's smashed it in the last 5 games. Again, and I understand what you're saying, Max, and I do to an extent actually agree with you. I was just kind of curious to see where you would go with that. But again, it's like, here's the question. I'm going to throw this one at Dante. Can you grade Saquon Barkley on the same curve as everyone else? Like, yeah, 100 yards is kind of like a monument, right? Or like it's sort of a mark. Like, okay, the guy has 100 yards, he had a really good game. But is Saquon on that same, where it's like, if he rushes for 100 yards, like, is that a good game for him?
Like you said too, he has to go over. Like Max, you said it. Like he could have a great game and go under 100 yards, but they're solely banking on this guy to just do what he's been doing all season. And like I said, dude, that has to be your main priority. Stop. Like I can see him going under by a lot.
I could just see everyone seeing the 113 number and forgetting about that extra 13 yards. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I said,
like you said, he could break one to the curb whenever he wants
and have 105 yards.
Yeah.
The difference between 100 and 113 yards is, 3 good rushes. That's not like 100 and 113 are the same thing. That's why I personally, if the line was like 102, I'd love it. And I think that extra 10 yards could be just one of those Vegas things where it's like, Saquon played great. You're like,
he could shatter 110.
he could run for 180 yards. Like,
Yeah,
Saquon's great, but I'm saying, like, you could watch the game, not be checking the stats all game, be like, oh, I have a parlay. One of my legs is Saquon over 112.5. Fourth quarter, he smashed it. I don't even have to worry about it. And then you go look, he has 107 yards. 107 yards is a great game still.
On the whole thing, I'm probably just going to die on this mountain. But if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But here's my thought, and I've kind of said it a bunch of different ways. But if Saquon Barkley, for whatever reason, doesn't get there, for me, it's like one of two reasons. I think number one is because he can't get there because the Eagles are forced in a position where they've got to go to the air. And in my opinion, like I've said like a bunch of times already, you're not. I don't think they're going to go to the air and beat the Chiefs. And that's the other thing too. And it kind of goes back to what we were talking about with the over. Like if Saquon is crushing, you got to think the Eagles are scoring. And if they're scoring, you know the Chiefs are scoring. So it seems like an over is pretty likely.
Also, on the subject of Saquon.
It was, oh geez, I should know this. Miles Sanders, wasn't it? Miles Sanders and Gainwell?
Yeah, I think you're right.
It had to have been Miles Sanders.
So here's one thing I just thought of, and it makes me like his yards a lot more. The Chiefs in the last two Super Bowls they played in have been down by 10 points pretty late in the third quarter. Not only does this make me like the Eagles even more, because now with Saquon, the best running back in the league, if they're up 10 points late into the third, if they can keep their run game going, the Chiefs can only do so much. Like, if their run game is on point, the Chiefs can only do so much if they're down 10 in the third quarter, if you keep feeding Saquon. So that, if they get a lead into the second half, you could see a lot more production out of Saquon. So that does make me like the Chiefs being down 10 in the second half in the last two Super Bowls does make me like Saquon's rushing prop more. Now that I think.
Well, with all that being said, I think we've more than lapped the track our allotted amount of time. So give these guys a break. Don't want to hit the full 2-hour mark because that would just be insane. But if we want to wrap it up here real quick, guys, give me one final thought, one thing to zero in on the game. It could be a prop. It could be just something to watch. Whatever it may be, fire when ready.
I'll go first, just about the game. And Max, this is where we differ 100%. I think you're a big believer in Jalen Hurts. I think he is not even scraping as a top 10 quarterback in NFL. I think he's going to shit the bed. And my prediction is Saquon does not have a game over 110 yards, and he's going to have to throw the ball. And if that happens, I can't see it happen. And I can't see him scoring more than 20 points if that happens. That's how bad I think he is. I could be just a big hater, but don't think he's that guy.
Max?
Dante, you said Jalen Hurts isn't him. I completely agree with you. But I'm not a Jalen Hurts fan. I think looking at how he performed in the Super Bowl 2 years ago, he's more than proven himself. He's gotten the job done this season. He's got their team in the Super Bowl. Like I said to start the podcast, he is literally a pass interference that was arguably a terrible call. In my opinion, not a great call. He's a pass interference away from having a ring. So if you think Jalen Hurts can't get the job done, you're wrong. Is he going to? That's a different question. Is he going to is different. Can he? Yes.
I like the whole call.
Listen, the last time he was in this spot, he played the best game of his career, and now he is a better running back. I guess not a better O-line, but more experience. And I guess he has the same weapons, but better running back and a better defense. So I really do think Jalen Hurts could get it done. So let's see what happens now. I really think it's all on him. I think Saquon's going to do Saquon. Saquon's going to perform just like Patrick Mahomes is going to perform, but we'll see. I think it all lies on Jalen Hurts for the Eagles.
So for my final thought, I'm going to do what I feel comfortable with. I'm going to lean to the things I know versus the things I don't. What I believe in Steve Spagnuolo. I believe in Andy Reid. I watched one of the best passing offenses in the NFL last week in the Buffalo Bills go up against this Chiefs defense, and they struggled to pass against it. They went to the ground. So I don't want to say I'm as far down the mountain as Dante is or as far up the mountain, but I kind of agree. Like, I think Saquon's going to have to be a big part of this game for it to be close. And if he is, and he has that great game, I think it could go either way. Again, I'm leaning KC. I continue to kind of stay there with it. I kind of like what Max did. I'm going to give my lay of the day as well, and put a few picks together that I think really make sense. Again, Chiefs over points. I don't know if I'll go with that 24.5 or I'll bite off a little bit more, but definitely hit a Chiefs over. Throw in my Kareem Hunt over 41.5 rushing, and Worthy over 52 yards. I think all three of those things add up. Maybe I add Butker field goals into that as well because it kind of makes sense with the Chiefs over. But that's kind of where I'm leaning. Maybe if I'm feeling especially fun, I'll throw in the Mr. Pfizer anytime touchdown just to make it a little crazier. But that's where I'm leaning, guys. Dante, do you have a parlay you want to throw out before we wrap it up? Dante's
Parlay,
lay of the day.
Absolutely slamming. My lay of the day. I'm going to say it again. I love Juju over 15.5 yards. I think that is unbelievably lock. I think we all have this, which is probably not a good thing. I love Kareem on touchdown. I mean, I think we all love it way too much. Or it might be too good to be true. I love Kareem. My last one, under. I think the under is, I think it's that.
Wait, so what are you doing? Kareem Hunt touchdown, Juju yards.
Juju 15.5.
Under 49.
Under 49.
Right.
No alternative. Straight up.
So if we've learned anything on this show is bet Juju's under.
Juju's
because
under.
Dante said it's a lock.
Kareem
So with
Hunt,
that,
no
like it's the
touchdown.
play. But in all seriousness, though, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to be
course.
on the show. This couldn't have been a better way to relaunch the show, and hopefully we'll do something again like this real soon. Go take the time. Go follow these guys on socials. I don't know their exact handles, but if you go into my followers list on basically any social media platform, you can find them. Definitely worth the follow, and we will see you guys all again real soon. And remember, make your bank accounts great again.
Hell yeah, Super Bowl weekend.